Time to start living. How many people feel like that? Yes, it's time to start living? Yeah, how many? Raise your hands. How many people feel it's time to start living? Why have you waited till now? Right? It's time to start living. But you know what? If you haven't started living, it's time to start living. But you know what else? It's time to start living more. It's time to start living more fully. It's time to start living more authentically. It's time to start living more spontaneously. It's time to start living more funly, passionately. It is now. Successfully. It's just time to start right this moment. It is time to start really taking what we teach here and living it to the fullest. I want to start with a quote from Napoleon Hill. Fascinating. It starts with, "Do it now," our mission statement. He says, "Do it now can affect every phase of your life. It can help you do the things you should do, but don't feel like doing." Anybody have any of those things? Things you should do, but don't feel like doing, so you're kind of like putting them on the back burner, and anybody else procrastinate here? Yeah. No one in the front row. That's good. I'll procrastinate later. Yeah, got it. So he says, it can help you do the things you should do but don't feel like doing. It can help you from procrastinating when an unpleasant duty faces you. But, and this is what's important to me, but it can also help you do those things that you want to do. You know, I think we procrastinate not only the things we don't want to do, but we procrastinate with the things we do want to do. How many of you today are sitting here on things you really want to do, but you have found the reasons why you just can't do them yet? How many of you? Right? I know you do, Kelly. You're sitting there smiling. You're like, you're getting... So it's not just about procrastinating on what we don't want to do. It's about what we do want to do as well. And it says here, he says, but it can also help you do the things you do want to do. It helps you seize those precious moments that, if lost, may never be retrieved. So, what is going on in your life that is so important, so monumentally important, that it's stopping you from doing what you know will make you happy? There's your answer. William James said, Kelly, now what if that had happened on your news show? They didn't have cell phones, no. So, William James said, to change one's life, start immediately. Do it flamboyantly, no exceptions. So here, yes, thank you. Randy said yes to do it flamboyantly. So the question is, everybody know what the word flamboyantly means? So the question is, how flamboyant are you in your life? How flamboyant are you? How spontaneous are you? For a straight guy, pretty flamboyant. You know what? No. Flamboyant does not equal gay. It just so happens most of us are. But, if you're sitting here and you're not gay, what is wrong with you? No, if you're sitting here and you're not gay, you still need to try the flamboyant card. It'll shock the hell out of people. I mean, I remember when Terry Taylor first came to this center. He now wears purple and pink shirts. Did you before you came here? Not at all. No. So, today's the day. You get to actually ask yourself, am I living my life to the fullest? Am I living my life spontaneously? Am I living my life now in this moment? Or am I holding off waiting? It's time to start living. William James said to start one's life, start immediately. But the Chinese proverb is, enjoy yourself. It's later than you think. Now, that may not sound like a science of mind thing to say. It's later than you think. But, whatever. The time to enjoy yourself is now. Teaching Troward this year was great for me because I really got to understand what Thomas Troward taught that Ernest Holmes brought to us, which is that we are only here to enjoy life. That's it. We're not here to do these great monumental things. That just happens. That happens. When you look at these great things that people do, and then you try to study their steps of how they did it, and you read all their 7 steps to 13 steps to 160,000 steps to success, the reason why you don't see that success happen that same way for the person that reads the book is because it's not about the steps. It's about the authentic knowing of who they are in such a degree that they just live spontaneously moment to moment to moment, and the successes just happen because of who they are and how they're living. So, in the song, one of the lyrics that I always love, which is, there's one thing to be sure of, there's nothing to be sure of. There's one thing to be sure of, there's nothing to be sure of. Now, we teach in religious science that there is a divine destiny for all of us, that there is this thing inside of us that is just bubbling to get out, and it will reach its ultimate destination only to find out that it's at the starting line, because we are always, always evolving, always, always growing. So the idea that there's one thing to be sure of, that there's nothing to be sure of, it's not that there's uncertainty everywhere in a negative sense. It's that uncertainty is a positive thing in our lives. It's great to live in a state of uncertainty with a bedrock and a groundedness of everything unfolds for my highest good, as Josh had said. Everything is unfolding perfectly, and I don't have to know what that is or how that's going to manifest. But I do have to have, as Josh also said, the faith. Not just patience. I love that concept, by the way, because I can be impatient. Has anyone ever noticed that? I can be a little bit impatient, Kevin. Not too impatient, though, right? Quiet. Silence. So, I can be impatient, but I really get it. I am only impatient when I don't have faith. That's it. So if you find yourself being impatient, it's really because there's a lack of faith. You don't trust that life is unfolding perfectly and it's unfolding exactly how it should, which also doesn't mean we're supposed to stop and not do anything and wait for it. That's not what we're here to do. We're here to take one step and put it in front of the other and just keep going, knowing that I have no idea. I don't know what the rest of this day is going to be like. Do you? I have plans. Do you have plans? I have plans, but that doesn't mean that those plans are going to really happen or that I'm going to get exactly what I planned on getting. That's what we're here to understand today. He also says, there's still no cure so heaven bent as a chance to raise some hell. Yeah. So, how many of you have raised hell in the last year or so? Okay. How many of you have raised any hell in the last month? How many of you have raised some hell in the last week? How many of you have raised some hell in the last 24 hours? Oh, good for you. What does it mean to raise some hell? What do you think that means? Well, the concept means to allow something in you to spontaneously step out, to just let it out. I know that every single one of us in this room has ideas and desires and dreams that we just can't wait to get involved in. And yet, what are we doing? We're waiting to get involved in them. And I'll tell you, for me, when I set a deadline, it's actually the best way for me to get anything done. For instance, I agreed to do Sissy Boy, a show I've been writing for 6 years and procrastinating on. And I just kept writing a piece and then putting it in my files. And I look at it a year later and go, this is really good, and put it in my files. And go, I should do this, and putting it in my files. I should do this before I'm too old, and putting it in my files. I'll do it when I turn 60, and putting it in my files. I'm going to turn 60 soon. I had to take it out of my files. And then I said, you know what? I'm going to set a date. So I set a date, August 24th. It is really close. Lest you think I've been procrastinating, I have been writing this piece. And I can only tell you that it has brought me such joy to literally let all of this out of myself. And it really will be quite a letting out of myself. And I had to say to myself the whole time, what was I waiting for? And what am I waiting for still? What things am I still waiting for? Thinking, oh, I'll do that when. I'll do that later. I'll do that. Well, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to be willing and able to just do what comes to me to do. And I'm kind of, a lot of you will know that I am that kind of person. I get an idea and I just do it. But I have things I procrastinate about. Really, it really happens. I have things that I still hold off on. And I think it's time for us to stop doing that because, the only reason why I hold off is because there's something in me that is uncertain about it. And not uncertain in the good way. Uncertain in I don't know if it's going to be good. I don't know if I can do this, right? The other lyric, here is a secret I never have told. Maybe you'll understand why. I believe if I refuse to grow old, I can stay young till I die. So, as we get older in life, we tend to base our life on the past quite often. We tend to make decisions based on the past. And many people talk about a good educated decision is a decision that is based on solid information. Facts. Get your facts and then make a decision. In Science of Mind, we actually say to ourselves, let's get rid of the facts and let's go to spiritual logic. What's the spiritual truth here? So the truth is, and this is also what we learned in Troward this year, growing old is not something that is absolutely going to happen to all of us. We don't have to get old. Our bodies don't have to get old. Our minds certainly don't have to get old. Our living situations don't have to get old. And yet I still hear myself say, just this week, I was at the gym and I was doing this one exercise and I went to stand up and I had a little pain in my hip and I thought, well, you know, you are going to be 60. And I was like, ah! I was like, stop that. Oh my God, you just bought into the, I'm 60, my hip is going to hurt me. And I got to tell you, it's been a real interesting thing for me to constantly check my mind and say, am I thinking as I get older, I really am going to get older? Do I have to get older? Does getting old mean the body is really going to shut down? Well, Jack LaLanne didn't believe that. Do you remember Jack LaLanne? He just passed, what was he, 102 or something? Until the day he died, 90 something? To the day he died, he was pumping iron. And he looked awesome. Yeah. That's me. That's who I want to be. Jack LaLanne. There you go. You heard it here. But it's a mindset. This whole thing, and I love that Stephen wrote the lyric, here's a secret I've never told, maybe you'll understand why. I believe if I refuse to grow old, I can stay young till I die. So that brings me to this idea of death. What is death? What is it we're so afraid of? Laying down a body? That's all death is. It's laying down a body. When I'm willing to step out of this body and step into whatever's next, that's just the natural progression. That's the perfect unfoldment of life. So I know that most people, as they get older, because I've talked to a lot of them and I'm moving into that myself, it's the idea that, oh, well, I don't have a lot of time left, which is kind of what this song was about. I don't have a lot of time left. But frankly, I have the same amount of time left as you do, and I know you're probably 40 years younger than me. More than 40 years younger than me, I bet. How old are you? Exactly. So 42 years younger than me. Don't I look good? So I have just as much life ahead of me as she does. Are you all aware of that? Are you believing that about yourself? The life you have in front of you has nothing to do with the age you are. The amount of life you have in front of you has nothing to do with how many years you have to live it. That's what we teach. That's what we live. So today's talk title is called, Don't You Think It's Time? Don't you think it's time? Now, the important word here, the operative word here is you. Don't you think it's time? Because frankly, it doesn't matter what I say up here today. Matters not. It doesn't matter what I say here today. What matters is what you believe about what I say up here today. So when I say to you, don't you think it's time? The question I have for you is, what's going on in your mind? Don't you think it's time? What do you think about your life? What do you think about what you're doing in life? What do you think about what life's doing for you? So, question, what is it time for you to do? I know everyone in this room has an answer to this. What is it time for you to do? Just take a moment. What is it? Don't answer it. You don't have to yell out to me. What is it time maybe to go to the bathroom? What is it time? There you go. To the left? No, to the right. So what is it time for you to do? Now, this whole idea of you have a divine destiny, I just want to say to you, the idea that you have a divine destiny, yes, you do. Does that mean that there is something that you're supposed to do 5 years from now? No, it does not. That's not what divine destiny is. Divine destiny means that there is this thing inside of you that cannot be stopped. And if you just allow it to, it will take you on this great journey. And who knows where that's going to be. So, but when these ideas come up to you, there's your choice in life. What are you going to do with it? You know? What are you going to do with the idea that comes through your mind? So, what is yours to do? Stephen Levine wrote a book called Who Dies? And it's about conscious living and conscious dying, and here's what he said. If you were going to die soon and had only one phone call to make, who would you call and what would you say? If you knew that today was your last day on this plane of action, and you were allowed one phone call, don't you love those movies? You're allowed one phone call. Who would you call and what would you say? These are provocative questions. Who would you call and what would you say? And then the most important question, if you know the answer to that, why are you waiting? I read this and I had a little tear in my eye and I made a phone call instantly. Why are you waiting? Why are we waiting? Don't you think it's time to make that call? And then the question is, why do we wait? Why do we wait to start living? Why do we wait to do the things we want to do? Why do we wait? Well, I have 3 answers to that. The first one is fear. Fear of the unknown and fear of the known. Just fear. Fear of what might be or what might not be. The second one is uncertainty. And by uncertainty, I mean that we're not sure. And how many control people do we have in the room here? How hard is it to make a choice about something when we know we can't control the outcome? How often do we turn away from those decisions? We're like, let them do that because they're not going to let me take charge. Uncertainty. And then the last one, which I think is the most important, past conditioning. We've been conditioned to wait. We have been taught to wait. We have been conditioned not to jump into anything too quickly. We've been conditioned that way. And now I want to give you one of my quotes I'm working on, and it's this. When I know who I am certain of what was, what is, and what's to be. When I know who I am certain of what was, what is, and what's to be. Now, I want to ask you, what would life be like for you if you walked through your life absolutely certain and in perfect right relationship to everything that was? And then from that relationship, it put you in such a perfect divine space of being in perfect relationship to what is right now in front of me. So much so that I am in perfect relationship to everything that will be. What do you think life would feel like for you if that was your experience of life? Guess what? That can be your experience of life when you know who you are, when you remember who you are at all times. Henry David Thoreau said, "Only that day dawns to which we are awake." Only that day dawns to which we are awake. So, another question for you. How awake are you? Randy Furman's still awake, and I'm talking probably 20 minutes now. We have a joke, because he always tells me he gets it subliminally. So, how awake are you? And I mean awake to everything that's going on in your life. How awake are you? How awake are you inside? How alive inside are you? Don't you think it's time to wake up? Don't you think it's time for all of us to really wake up? Ralph Waldo Emerson says, "We are always getting ready to live, but we're never living." Now that sounds a little depressing, and I thought that was a little harsh for Ralph Waldo Emerson, because I live a lot of the time. But I get it. There is that thing in us that is always getting ready to live. How many of you have said, I am so ready for my close-up. I am so ready for that big success. I am primed. I am so primed, aren't I? I am so ready for the big expression of my life. I am so ready. It's like right there. It's right there. I'm just ready. And I know people who've spent their whole life ready. It's a cool energy, but it's not the energy. What's it going to take to get you from here to there? What's it going to take to get you from here to here? Because that's the truth of it. Because you're not going anywhere. We're waiting for something that is elusive. We're waiting for something that already is. We're waiting for something that we believe isn't here, that's right where I am. So don't you think it's time to live your life and not wait to live your life? What would it look like if you were to live your life unapologetically? How many of you are still apologizing for things in your life? How many of you are still apologizing for certain things in your life? We had an interesting thing happen, and I asked my daughter if I could share this, and she said yes. Nora has been enrolled in a Catholic grade school to finish her 8th grade. So she's gone to a Catholic school, and I can only tell you, I went to all Catholic grade school, high school, and college. And so when I went to the orientation this week, and I sat in the Catholic high school auditorium, and the priest got up to give the introduction and the prayer, there was just this little hair in the back of my neck that was going wild. And there was just this little feeling of like, I'm so uncomfortable on this chair, I'm uncomfortable here. But I forced myself to listen to the Marianist way of living, the Catholic way of living. And it was remarkable how much it was like what we teach, because it's all I saw. And I realized that I have left my judgmental self behind, and I'm only willing to hear what's like what I know is the truth. And the rest of it I'm willing to just say, that's okay. So it was a fascinating evening. So there's a father-daughter dance. And Nora said to me, she said, how do you think they're going to deal at the father-daughter dance with me having 2 fathers? And I said, in my caustic wit, I said, a lot of them will have 2 fathers. And she said, no, I think I might be the only one. And I said, no, a lot of them will have a father and a stepfather. And she, love Nora, she went, oh, that would work. I said, no, we're not doing the father-stepfather thing. We're not pretending. I said, no, I think it's going to be okay. And she said, so do you think they'll be okay that I have gay fathers? I said, you also have gay mothers, let's be clear. I said, so let's have equal prejudice here, And we just had a talk, and I said, sweetie, are you really worried that the world could possibly judge you in a way that would hurt you? And I guess she felt that. And then we had a talk, and she was like, God, you're so right. But what was great was she was with her girlfriend, my goddaughter. I said, Lou, how do you feel about, what do you think Nora's going to experience having 2 gay fathers at the father-daughter dance? And Lou said, I think they're going to think she's awesome. And that's before she even got into how well I dance and how great they're all going to love it anyway. So here's a question. What would it be like if you were to live your life unapologetically? If those kind of conversations didn't even show up in your mind because you knew who you were. And it didn't matter what the world played back to you. Because let's face it, we live in a world of cause and effect. The world can only play back to you what you are equal to. And the world can only play back to you in a negative way what you are somehow like. So what would it be like if you were to live your life without judgment? If you really were to love only and forgive everything? What would it be like if you were to live your life spontaneously? What would it be like if you were to live your life from the power and not looking for the power or trying to find the power? What would that be like? I was working with an actor recently, and he talked about how difficult it was to go to auditions. He said, I just hate auditions. He says, I'm such a good actor. I'm such a good actor. If they would just give me the job, I could prove it to them. I just can't prove it at the audition. I said, well, you're screwed. I said, because guess what? If you come into me to audition, I can only base whether I'm going to hire you on what your talent is. Can you show me what I need? That's it. I said, so what's the problem? Why do you have such a hard time going in and auditioning? And the answer was, because I feel like I'm being judged. And I said, you are. You are being judged. You need to get over that. An actor gets a job because they are authentic, right, Glenn? An actor gets a job because when they walk in the room, the job is theirs to begin with. And if it's not theirs, then that's the perfect result for them, and that's fine. An actor gets a job because an actor is willing to show themselves. Be authentic, really be who they are so that we actually have someone to look at and talk to. Life shows up for you in direct proportion to how much you show up for life, authentically, really, honestly, without reservations, without judgment, without the fear that someone else is going to judge you. So, Dana sang this great song, It's Time to Start Living. So my question to you as you leave here today and as we continue today is, what's it going to take? What do you need to eliminate? What do you need to step into in order for you to start living? Jesus walked the face of the earth, living unapologetically in a time that wasn't easy to do that. He spoke the truth at a time where it really wasn't easy to do that. I mean, clearly, the result was not happy. How many of us are living that kind of a life where we unapologetically walk through our lives as God and not worrying about what anybody thinks about that? Now, I don't mean that we all should walk around going, I'm God. I'm God. Unless you're willing to say, and so are you. We all are. Oh, it's time to start living. Time to get a little from the world we're giving. Time to take time, for spring will turn to fall in just no time at all. All of our lives are moving forward. All of our lives are moving at this perfect pace. All of our lives are unfolding perfectly. Our job is to be willing to live that. Our job is to be willing to say to ourselves, right where I am, everything is perfect. Right where I am, everything I need is here. Right where I am in perfect relationship to that, I'm in perfect relationship to this, and I'm in perfect relationship to that. Then I have a perfect, whole, and complete understanding of my life. That's who I am, that's what I am, that's where I am, that's who you are, that's what you are, that's where you are. We're all in this together, and it's time to start living right now. Do it now. Namaste. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.